Hey, peace, love, and light, healing through inspiration. How y'all doing? It's a great day. Yeah, you dig. You probably used to us doing a solo video, but we got a different change coming in. We got an interview, and we have an interview with the great American brother, American Airwack brother. Goes by Lokono Empire. You might know him as Tata, Chief Inca, or today you may know him as Davron Ross. And why did I say Davron Ross? Because he's got a book out called Alton and Ronique's Journey with the Ancestors. This book is available on Amazon. Make sure you guys go cop it. And today I'm gonna have an interview with the brother. How you doing today, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing today, Healer? Thank you for having me on your platform, man. Big up to you.
No problem. It's all the pleasure's ours. The pleasure's ours, man. You know, this book right here, it's really invigorating, man. It gets me excited. I'm just so glad I get to talk about it. And I'm so glad, you know, I was able to see the behind the scenes and, you know, of what this book took. You know what I'm saying? So if you could you explain to the people, you know, well, what is this book about?
I'll read the backstory for you. I won't spoil nothing.
Okay, fair.
So, the book I'm holding, what Healen's holding, this is my book that I created. You know, I started this project in July. You know, it was written like in a month time span, and then from there in August, that's when it went to an illustrator who's called Present Jet Row. You know, he's a man from Hindustan, southeast of Asia, and he worked with me this project. And yeah, I'm happy and pleased with this book, Alton and Ronique, Journey with the Ancestors. And yes, this is the factor version I'm holding, and Healen's holding the English version. You have 6 versions in total. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but I'll read the backstory like I said before. So whilst Alton and Ronique are at their grandparents' wake, or nine night, that's what we call it back home in the islands. Originally happened from Jamaica and Cuba, celebrating their recent ancestors passing with their family. Their mother calls them upstairs to read the letter and present them with a family heirloom. To their surprise, the letter and family heirloom not just ordinary but magical. They are sent on a magical adventure with their ancestors back in time. And yeah, they go through and explore adventures throughout the West Indies. This book is set in the West Indies, but you know, the other edition that's coming, the other books that's coming, you know, because it's a trilogy, and I may even touch on it back later, you know, after the series is put out. Yeah, so they're set in the West Indies, this book is, and then they go back in time and visit their ancestors, you know, and see how they live and etc. You know. Yeah, man. So give thanks, man.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. Wow. So, you know, with this being said, I mean, I'm just looking at the title. You know, it says it's the ancestors. You say, where does this take location again?
The West Indies.
The West Indies.
Yes, that's in the Americas, in the American continent, to be put it in.
Mm-hmm. What made you want to choose the ancestors of the West Indies?
Well, that's where I'm from, innit? I'm original inhabitant from Jamaica and Cuba. You know, as he already stated, you know, I'm an Arawak, original inhabitant, Arawak Indian, American Indian. Yeah, so what? It's close to home, innit? It's foundation. So, you know, I'm born and raised in England, and from London, and you know, I always remember where I come from, and I want to see something that presents, you know, where I come from and the people where I come from, you know. That's my story. It's our story. You understand?
Right. And you know, just with that being said, since you said you wanted to feel like you wanted to have something to represent where you come from, did you feel like there was enough representation to represent where you come from?
Well, in England, like growing up, I'm 80s baby, so there used to be like West Indian culture and literature, you know, heavily impact, you know, coming up through the 90s. But as we see and go forward, you know, there's a lack of representation of West Indian culture or even literature, in that sense, where, you know, our history is not really touched upon in London. So, you know, I want something that represents, you know, where I come from and foundation, innit, where West Indians come from.
Okay, I appreciate that. So this brother's doing he's doing us a service, most definitely. It seems like it, you know. Still it's still on the title, still on the cover. Out of all the names and whatnot, what I gotta ask, what made you choose Alton and Ronique?
Well, Alton is like an old time name. You find most of our people back home with that name. Especially in Jamaica. That's an old time name. It's old fashioned. It's vintage. It's classic. Ronique is like a modern name. That we call our children now. Other various names and stuff like that. So just is connecting the old with the new. The past and the present and the future. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm looking at the cover, like the imagery. It's like I really think, just playing, acting as if I haven't read this yet. I would think that visualization was very quite important for this book. And I'm just looking at the cover of these characters. You know, can you tell us, where did you get the imagery as far as the image to say, hey, I want this person to look like such and such, and braids like this and braids like that and apparel like such?
Well, I found images. Well, we're talking about the main cover. Then I took a leaf out of my own book. Growing up and just looking at our culture, as West Indian, and the hairstyles that we have. I wanted something that touches the whole. We wear locks and we wear cane rolls and other various hairstyles. And I wanted something to represent, of my people, innit? It's our narrative, our stories, and just telling it from our aspect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man.
Okay, awesome. Just going through the book and just seeing some awesome imagery. I gotta ask, being that you said you worked with an illustrator on this, what challenges and did you have facing communicating with them in order to express your image, and being that you stated this person is a Hindustani and that is not an Arawak?
Well, there wasn't much difficulty communicating with this person. Obviously, he's not in London. The person's, he's in Hindustan. So the communication's always been good. I gave him images, which I dug up from my independent research. Like, yeah, I want it this way, and I want the birds from our islands to be in the book. And I just did everything myself. Like, gave him all the imagery that I wanted him to work on and perfect, and did a little touch into it. Even put locks on the characters and stuff like that, and just making it more centered to us and getting to our people. You understand?
Right.
Yeah, it's been great so far. It's been great so far, man.
Okay, right. Just with that being said, I'm just looking at this. Stuff like this actually might be kind of new. This might be kind of new because this is like a new form, because from what I've seen and from what I heard, and I know certainly growing up as from a child, we didn't necessarily have books that that told us that, hey, we're American. We're American. So how would your reaction be to people, and maybe parents that are maybe a little bit dumbfounded from this and saying, hey, I thought my child was Black,
Well, I mean, Black, what is Black? Black is not, Black is a color. I mean, that's not a nationality or represents a nation of people, you know. Healing's got on his t-shirt, American. So, definition of American is copper-colored races found in the Americas before European, Caucasians went over there. We are the Americans. And, how I managed to find myself, like, everybody's trying to find themselves, you understand? And, I had oral stories from my great-grandparents. This book was inspired by my great-grandparents. And they told me certain things, as a child growing up, that I never got taught in school, in the education system. It's a different narrative. What my great-grandparents were telling me is a different narrative that I got educated in school, in the school curriculum. So, I had to find myself, man. I traced my ancestors. Didn't, like the book.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
That's
traced my ancestors, and I found out
yeah,
who I was, and I already knew who I was anyway because I had oral stories. But yeah, I
right,
mean,
right. So basically, it seems like you had the oral stories, and it kind of like there was some misguidedness, but you kind of had like pieces of the puzzle. You kind of just put it together, correct?
yes, that's right.
Okay, for sure. Um, was there some type of selective process as far as when you chose the specific illustrator for this project?
Well, yes, there was. I mean, I sent out numerous communications and emails to different illustrators from around the world, and this was the one that got back the quickest, and it was reasonable. So yeah, so I just went with him, to be honest.
Okay. So, being you said, you're gonna write multiple books. Can you tell us how many more books of this series you want to write?
Well, at the moment, the book is set in a trilogy. Alton and Ronique is set in a trilogy. It's a 3-part series, and I may go back and touch on it again at a later date. But for now, it's just a trilogy.
Mhm. And being that this book is about, I would presume that it's about American culture. What book, could you say that you read that gave you the inspiration in order to create this?
I read multiple books, multiple books. Man. I mean, if people read,
Could you list them if you know?
well, I mean, I do research, innit? So basically, like if people look at like books like John Ogilvy, authors like him, books about how the original inhabitants look, and their phenotype and their hair textures, and people like Jack D. Forbes, and there's several books out there. There's countless. If you look at the Mayans and the Incas and Aztecs, pull up their artifacts, what they look like, and even images on the temples, mounds and pyramids, you see history. It's written on a wall like Michael Jackson.
Hey, okay, since like you said, you're planning to write a sequel to this trilogy. Do you have any? Can you tell us a bit about the plans for the next ones?
Yeah, the book revolves around the culture of the Americas, of the Amerindians, the American Indians. So it's pretty much sent to that. And yeah, so look out. So this one.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the location as far as where it's going to be at in Americas? It's such a big place.
I can't do that, man.
Okay.
I'll be giving too much away.
Oh, so okay, he's giving that too much away. Hey, that's just going to say we getting exclusive from the brother, you dig? And this
anyway. So the second book's written up. The second book is already written. So once I've done dusted with this one and give out the audio books that will be soon, and then I can move on to work on the second product of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to show these people really fast. I just look at the imagery, like the imagery. This is a children's book, and this is really predicated as far as the imagery to let them see. Let them see. And this right here, I think all the imagery I really think is really powerful. I think this one is powerful as well, in particular as far as because it just showcases that we actually seen paintings of this, the original inhabitants looking like this, and right now there's an agenda most definitely in order to push away the original inhabitants from knowing who they are, the American, as my brother just pointed out. We got that shit available, link in the description for that. But the main focus is on this brother right here, and he got his book right here. And I just really wanted to show that and flash that. Now this right here is truly important because this is you. And and I gotta ask you this, being that this is a children's book and you want children to read this, when you want a child to read this, what do you after the child is done reading this, when they walk away from this, what do you want them to learn from this?
There's many things. I'll just list a couple of things that come to my mind. So this revolves around family, you know, family. So it's family orientated. So, you know, it revolves around, you know, great grandparents, you know, your mum and your father and your uncles and your cousins. So it's pretty much family orientated. You know, it touches on the culture, you know, that we practice and we still preserve in the Americas. You know, it shows, you know, how we used to live in a couple of 100 years ago, and we still preserve it, certain things, certain aspects of, you know, the vintage culture that we still partake in today in modern times. You know, it's a topic to be talked about, you know. And, you know, children are very inquisitive and they ask questions to their family members. And with this book, I hope it can shed light and, you know, do a great service to our people, you know, spark that conversation.
Right. You know, I heard you when you said that, you know, that you're going to touch up on this book. So what exactly do you feel like you want to touch up on this book and add from your first draft to the next one of the same book?
Well, maybe a bit more characters. Maybe a bit more characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy. I'm happy that everybody's embracing the book, man. That's a huge accomplishment. Everybody's behind me, like everybody in America is behind me, so it's a good thing. They're proud and they're happy.
Okay, and you know, I gotta ask, what was the exact turning point that said, you know what, no more of this, no more of that. I have to put this book out.
Well, I mean, knowing all the information that you know and I know, and various other people know, turning to who they are, and you know, other people like to complain. You know, as Americans, we like to complain a bit too much. You know, we say we don't have this and that, and you know, and I was one of those same people. So, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, and X, Y, Z. And if we keep talking about certain things and complaining about certain things, it's not going to get done. You know? And I wanted to be, you know, to create the spark. So yeah, you want change, you got to be the change. Don't wait for somebody else to do it because, you know, we're waiting all day.
Right. So basically, what this brother is saying is that, you know, you got to be the change you want to see in this world. And as well as a lot of you be lax, you know, you talk about you don't have infrastructure, you don't have this, you don't have that. And then yet when you have someone, you know, like us and a brother, the author Davron Ross himself, who was putting out work and putting out projects and, you know, providing value for you so you can have something. And you say in the same breath, you don't have anything. Here's something, you know, because if we're going to live in a society, it's going to require some, you know, some fiat. And with the fiat, we can build off of that. And so if we get this brother right, because he is obviously in the right direction, we are, because we're Americans, you dig? We are the American. You know, this is for the American continent, our offspring. Because we talk about a lot of people don't do stuff for our youth, and our youth is the future. The youth is the future. So if you're not doing anything for the future, you know, you have no future. You're simply making yourself extinct. So this brother's looking out for a future, making sure we're building for a future. Because there's been many of times, well, quote unquote times, of course. Well, I've been in school and, you know, they paint the slave narrative and they show you the images of them in shackles and whatnot. And this petition's documentation, that is not accurate at all. We were not slaves. I'm sitting here telling you right now, we are not slaves. The etymology of the word slave is Slavic, and that pertains to European regions. And now the brother just stated that he's an American and he is of American regions. You know, that's where people come from, them being original habitat, minus where he traveled to or where he lives at. We're talking about his ancestry. That would make you not a slave because you're not from Slavic. So you're not a slave. You know what I'm saying? And this right here is gonna, I feel like it's gonna deal with confidence. It's gonna be very valuable to the youth, because if you're getting told that you're a slave, you know, you're brought over here on a boat, on the rapid waves and the rapid ships. It's rather kind of implausible, and that you are beaten, you know, and it just unanswered questions as far as, you know, what water did you drink? You know, because you can't drink seawater, you end up being deceased, if that being the case. What food was there? How many people did it take to gather you up? These are the questions we must begin to ask. And with questions, you start to get somewhere. And how am I able to say that? Because the word question has the word quest. Quest is in search. This brother right here, you may know him as Lokono Empire. He went on a quest. He started to ask questions in search of himself, in search of his people. He said he had to do his genealogy. And look back, a lot of people, you can do your genealogy. We're not against that. But you know, you got to do search of yourself. Because I know some people, you know, with this so-called family, you know, they're not so tight. They're not so tight. Which we really, you got to know is you got to look at yourself. Because we really are nature. And I can say that as in, hey, look at the soil. Look at the soil. Why is your skin the same color as the soil? Why is your skin the same color as the trees? Why does your hair grows as the trees? You dig? Why is that? Why is your skin the same color as a squirrel? Why do they call you the buffalo soldier? Why do you have the same hair as the buffalo? You dig what I'm saying? Why do you have a beard as a bison? Like my brother does. You dig? And where are these people coming from? Why are they calling you coons? Coons is an African, by the way. Coon, you look up, coons are growing in America. It's all these depictions and all these words that's applying you to America. You dig? And look at that. And you know what? This stuff right here, the stuff the brother's providing, it's not going to be taught in schools. It's not going to be taught in schools. What healing? How could you say that? How could you say that? But look at that, man. Because if we're talking about American history, and history is his story, it's in the word. This is why we encourage you to do your own due diligence, do your own research and study word. Because if American history was anything, they would teach you the definition of American in the 1848 First Webster's Dictionary. A lot of people don't know, so we had to put on a shirt for them. You think it's wrong? Go look it up yourself.
The truth. That's the truth. That's the truth.
Right. So with all this stuff right here, and you talk about you don't have, you want to see change. This is right here. These are people right here that make it a change, especially our brother. I told my brother this, and I said this off here. I'm gonna say this right here. We're making this book go #1. We're gonna have the little orange sticker with the pound sign and #1 bestseller. That's what it's gonna be. This book. Let's do that. Let's get this brother right. We gotta support those that support ourselves, because then we ain't gonna have nothing. You dig? You can't just watch your own back. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta have people to look out. That's how you can come on conglomerates. You dig? Because that's what all these other foreigner groups, and I said foreigner, they ain't from here. You dig? American pride. Okay, this with this interview, I think we're gonna make a close. But brother Lokono, do you want to make any final statements?
Yeah, man. I hope you enjoy the book, man. The book is available on Amazon. You know, before we do go, yeah, thank you, Healing, for having me on the platform. Yeah, and various formats is on the book, so various languages is on the book. So, you know, Healing showed the English version. Once again, this is the Jamaican Patois version for the islands that speak Patois. You know, we have French, we have Spanish, we have Dutch, and we have Portuguese. So altogether, there's 6 languages, and it's also on ebook as well, so digital format as well. And like I said before, I'm working to get the audio books out. But give me time. I'm doing everything by myself, so everything's independent, you know. No publisher, no big backing, just myself.
Yeah. And his brother, and you see it, he did it. He accomplished it. You can do stuff. You put your mind to it, you can do it. Yeah. Everything starts in the mind. This brother has did it. I'm very glad. And you know, it's a pleasure for you to have us on here, man. You know, you always have us on your show. You know, I want, you know, before I explain that, how about you explain your show and, you know, where you at your social media and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, you can reach me on Facebook. It's Inca, INCA. I'm on Instagram. That's Inca Apparel, and I'm on Twitter as well. That's D Adams. I'm also on. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Really, you can also get to me on Gmail, which is awakanIndian@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay, would you like to tell people about your show?
Oh yeah.
And tell them what it's rated, you know, who's it for, you know?
So, you know, every Friday, or when I choose to go live with ICCC, that's International Copper Council. You know, there's myself, you know, I go by Lokono Empire. There's Gambler, he's a DJ. There's Copper Hop Step, and Empress Copper Fox with the Empresses. You got Healing that comes on there time to time. You know, there's loads of us. There's loads of us. There's people from the Americas, you know, forming a solution for our people and presenting information. So Copper Hot Step, he deals with the children's, you know, children's side of things. So it's children friendly, his platform. You can find them on YouTube as well. And Empress Copper Fox on YouTube as well, and Gambler on YouTube, and even Healing on YouTube. Just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like my show is explicit content, and so is Empress Copper Fox for those who choose to listen to us. You know, it's not children friendly. You don't have your children around when you're listening to my platform, which is Lokono Empire, or Lokono Empire Official. I've got 2 platforms, and Empress Copper Fox. Yeah.
Wow, excellent, excellent. And you know what? I'm so glad that I had you express, you know, that your YouTube channels and whatnot. And you notice that the brother said he had multiple platforms. And the reason why this brother has had multiple platforms, because you guys know, if you've been following us and you subscribe, you hit the bell notification on YouTube channel, Healing Through Inspiration, you've seen that some of our uploads have been minusing and have been subtracting. And you know it's not us, because if you follow us on our Instagram, you see that we have been met back with resistance from opposition sides, because we are putting out the truth out here. We're putting out the truth, you dig? And there is opposing sides that do not like that. And they'll make some type of excuse that say, you know what, you're going against our policy or whatnot. And you know what? And there's been a lot of times where we had, and they give you the option in order to, how do you say, you know, challenge it. And you get to provide how you're challenging, how the error that was made. And guess what? You provide information and you correctly stay in their policy. So basically, you're doing their work for them in order to elaborate on how you did not, you know, incorrectly violate their policy. And guess what? They still won't put it back up.
Yeah, it's true. We're getting a fight, man. We're getting a fight. People don't tear the truth, but you know, the truth is the truth, no matter who tells the story or tells the tell. Or tells the overall story. It's still the same. It's not going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it's a war out there. And, you know, we don't say that to unnecessarily scare you. We say that and it's a war as far as to let you know, but the war is right here in the mind. Right here in the mind. And this is right here. If you want to combat the war in the mind, because they got so many books that's telling you, in movies and roots, trying to tell you in Africa, you a slave, you ain't nothing but a boy, you ain't nothing but a gal, all about that. Hey, but guess what right here, yo? This right here is combating it. Let's make this number one. We want it, like my brother said, he wants to see people get inspired by this. He wants to see more of this stuff right here. And he's telling you, he's doing this all by himself. And what he couldn't do, he was able to outsource. The brother's not being stingy, because a lot of people say y'all being people are stingy with the information. No, no stinginess over here. We're abundant. We're abundant. We're rich. We want to help those that want to help us. You dig? Those are American. You dig? We wear our culture very proudly. And we show our culture and we express it. Because all these other foreigners, they teach themselves about themselves. But yet you're teaching yourself, like as the brother we said earlier, about some being black. What? And you think you black and you are here, guess what we challenge you this? Name a country or continent with the name black. Go ahead and do that.
It's true.
Okay. You know what, brother? I'm so glad that you could make this interview. Very glad that you did this. I'm very glad that you put out this work. You know, gonna make a close to this interview, but I gotta tell this to the viewers. Make sure you go get Alton and Ronique's Journey with the Ancestors, written by Davron Ross. That's available on Amazon. Let's get this book to #1. I told my brother, Lokono, Tata, I told him that this book is gonna be #1. We're gonna push to do that. Let's do that. Let's go see it happen. We want to show them our American pride. Let's show them that Americans got power. And let's show them what we got in the focal point. And let's make this #1. So let's get this book to #1, okay, y'all? Everybody show this brother love. You heard it when you get him social media followers. And tune in for his show, because we got fire over there. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end this. Everybody have a great one. Peace, love, and light, y'all.
Peace, man.